today, in this super connected, algorithm-driven world, it feels like it's not just hard, it's a whole other level of intense.
It really is.
Like you're navigating this social maze that's just constantly shifting, and you're doing it under a massive spotlight.
Okay, let's try and unpack this a bit.
Absolutely. Young people today, they're dealing with this constant flood of information, these external expectations, and it's fundamentally reshaping how they experience those really crucial formative years.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today on this deep dive is really to give you a shortcut to understanding this whole critical topic. We're talking about the social pressure, the struggle for identity, and the huge influence, sometimes totally overwhelming influence, of social media influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're a young person maybe feeling caught up in it all, or perhaps you're a parent, an educator, trying to get a better handle on these challenges, this deep dive is definitely for you. It's such a complex issue, really deeply layered, and it impacts, well, almost every part of a young person's life today.
Okay, so let's jump right into that first layer you mentioned, the pressure, that relentless treadmill of trends.
Right.
Just think about it. Fashion, memes, those TikTok challenges, slang. It all changes so fast.
Incredibly fast.
It feels like there's this unspoken rule, you have to stay on trend just to feel like you belong.
The speed of virality now is just astounding. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts,
Yeah.
they can take a trend from absolutely nowhere to being a global thing in like a matter of hours.
Hours.
Yeah, it creates this unprecedented speed for fads. What was cool yesterday is suddenly, completely out today.
And that speed, that constant churn of newness, it just pours fuel on what psychologists call social comparison theory, right? Which is already amplified online.
Massively amplified.
It creates this really intense fear of missing out FOMO. You're not just kind of glancing at others' lives, you're constantly scrolling, maybe mimicking online stuff because you're genuinely afraid of being left out. It feels like this invisible checklist you have to tick off. If you're not wearing the right thing or using the right aesthetic, suddenly you're like socially irrelevant.
And this pressure, it's not just about feeling accepted socially. It very quickly bleeds into consumerism.
Oh, definitely.
There's a real tangible drive to buy the clothes, the gadgets, just to feel included, even if it's something you absolutely cannot afford.
Yeah.
We see young people feeling they have to buy things influencers promote, not because they need them, but just to fit in with this digital identity that might disappear next week.
Exactly. It's almost like a digital arms race, isn't it? You finally get the must-have item and boom, next week it's old news and you feel behind again.
It's exhausting.
It is. Exhausting just thinking about it, let alone living it day to day. And for a lot of people, this isn't just about clothes. It becomes a real marker of social status, which just piles on even more pressure. So we've talked about those external pressures, the trends, the buying. But what about the internal stuff?
Yes. The identity piece.
Yeah, those teenage years, early adulthood, they're already kind of a maze for self-discovery, right? But how much harder does that get when social media is constantly feeding you this image of who you should be? I mean, how does that external narrative warp the internal journey?
That's where the curated content, as you said, really plays a huge role. Young people are just bombarded with these idealized versions of success, of beauty, of happiness.
The highlight reel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Their feeds show what life is supposed to look like. It creates this really narrow, often totally unattainable ideal. And that becomes the benchmark they measure themselves against when they're trying to figure out who they are. It's like a constant script being handed to them.
So when your feed is just full of these perfect moments, that comparison trap isn't just some abstract idea. It's like a direct hit to your self-esteem, right?
Absolutely.
But what happens when that feeling of being less than starts to actually change how you see yourself, your core identity, not just how you feel in that moment? This is where I think the identity struggle gets really, really critical.
It is. This constant comparison, it can lead to really serious mental health consequences. We're talking increased anxiety, depression, profound self-doubt. The pressure to present this perfect self online, it makes people afraid to be authentic. They start asking, will people still like me if I show the real me, the messy parts, the imperfections? They're struggling to define themselves while at the same time performing for this huge online audience.
And that's the real tragedy, isn't it? Because finding your identity, it's supposed to be messy and personal.
Yes.
It's trial and error, learning about yourself. It's not meant to be a public performance judged in real time by likes and comments, but that's what it's become.
And what's truly fascinating here is that the idea of authenticity itself, That's become a trend now, too.
Right. Be real, be authentic.
Exactly. You see influencers constantly promoting being yourself, but only if that self is still camera-ready, aesthetically pleasing, fits the current online vibe,
Yeah.
So it creates this bizarre paradox where being authentic is actually just another carefully curated performance.
Okay, speaking of influencers, let's really shift focus onto their impact. Because it's profound, isn't it?
It is.
These individuals, they've become like the new celebrities, but maybe even more influential in some ways than traditional stars. It feels like a totally new kind of dynamic.
A lot of their power, it stems from this perceived relatability. They film in their bedrooms. They talk directly to followers in DMs or comments. They share what feels like their everyday life. And that fosters this sense of like a personal connection that old school media often just can't replicate.
That perceived relatability, that's so key. But as you hinted, the reality is often quite different, right?
Often, yes.
A lot of influencer content is actually very carefully planned. It's highly monetized. They're promoting products, specific lifestyles, sometimes even pushing particular ideologies. And what's really striking is the amount of trust young people put in them. Sometimes, apparently, more than parents or teachers. Why do you think that trust is so strong?
Well, it's complex. I think influencers often represent aspirations, maybe a sense of community or belonging. They speak the language, use the platforms young people are already on.
They meet them where they are.
Exactly. And the sheer volume of content creates this constant presence in their lives. But this definitely raises an important question. What are the dangers inherent in that level of influence?
Right.
We see the promotion of really unhealthy beauty standards, totally fake success stories, sometimes outright misinformation or disinformation being spread very effectively.
That critical awareness is just so vital. But hang on, what about the argument that some influencers are positive? You know, the ones focused on education or mental health advocacy or niche hobbies, are they genuinely providing good role models in community? Or is there a risk we focus too much on the negative?
That's a fair point, and it's a crucial distinction. There absolutely are positive influencers doing great work.
Okay.
However, the sheer volume of content out there and the way algorithms tend to work, they often push the more extreme, the more controversial, or the hyper-aspirational content to the forefront because it gets more engagement.
The algorithm effect.
Right. So the danger often lies in the unregulated nature of this influence and just how difficult it can be, especially for younger audiences, to tell the difference between genuine advice and a paid promotion, or between healthy aspiration and something completely unattainable.
Right.
And let's not forget that subtle but really damaging narrative you hear so often.
Which one?
The whole, if you're not successful by 18 or 21, you're already behind.
Ugh, yes. That pressure. It's like this ever-rising bar for success, starting younger and younger.
Exactly, leading to intense feelings of inadequacy for so many who feel they don't measure up.
Okay, so after discussing all this, the trends, the identity maze, the influencers, the really crucial question for you, listening right now, especially if you're young, is how on earth do you cope with all this pressure?
Well, I think the very first, maybe the most powerful strategy is just awareness.
Okay.
Simply realizing, truly internalizing, that social media is a highlight reel. It is not real life. That alone is incredibly powerful. Even influencers themselves talk about struggling with the pressure. Social media burnout is a real thing.
Right. They feel the pressure too.
Absolutely. So understanding that even those perfect feeds are curated, their performances, and often a source of stress even for the creator, that can totally shift your own perspective.
That's a really helpful distinction. And practically speaking, what can you do? Well, you can actively curate your feed. Seriously, take a look at who you follow. If someone's posts consistently make you feel bad about yourself, inadequate, less than, just mute them or unfollow them.
Protect your mental space.
Right, exactly. Protect your peace. Actively cultivate a feed that genuinely empowers you or interests you or makes you laugh, not one that drains you or makes you feel worse.
Another vital tip, and it sounds simple, but it's crucial. Take breaks.
Log off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously, log off sometimes. Go outside. Talk to friends, in real life. Do hobbies that don't involve a screen. Your mental health will absolutely thank you for disconnecting, even for a little while.
And the algorithm police won't come for you.
No. The algorithm won't miss you for an hour or even a day. It'll still be there when you get back. Your well-being is just far more important.
And maybe the biggest thing to remember is this. It's okay to not have it all figured out.
Oh, absolutely.
Life isn't some kind of race you're running against a million other perfectly curated online profiles. Your value as a person, it's not defined by looking like an influencer or hitting success milestones super early or wearing the latest trendy thing. So what does this all mean for you?
It means your worth isn't defined by likes or follower counts or these trends that just come and go. It's defined by much deeper things like how you treat other people and, just as importantly, how you treat yourself. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself time to grow.
Now, before we wrap up, we also wanted to speak directly to the adults listening. Parents, teachers, mentors, anyone navigating this new landscape alongside young people. Because this is a really key area where your understanding can make a massive difference.
It really can. Young people today, they are true digital natives, aren't they?
Mm.
They're growing up immersed in a digital world that's just vastly different from the one most adults grew up in. So it's absolutely crucial to try and understand their environment, not just judge it from an outside perspective. Dismissing their online lives as just superficial or, silly screen time, it really misses the profound impact these platforms have.
Yeah, please try not to dismiss social media as just silly apps, because for young people, these platforms are deeply intertwined with their identity, their relationships, their learning, their mental health in very real, very significant ways.
Yeah.
They are central spaces for connection, for figuring things out, and often, yes, for struggling too.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, probably the most crucial piece of guidance for adults is just listen.
Really listen.
Really listen. Try to create a safe space where young people feel they can actually talk openly about their online experiences or struggles without fearing criticism or judgment. Maybe ask open-ended questions like, what's hard about social media for you right now? Or what do you enjoy about it? Rather than just, why are you always on your phone?
Yeah, shifting the focus.
Exactly. Your role is ideally to be a supportive guide, someone they can trust, not just a censor or a critic.
So be open, try to be supportive, and definitely be patient. Their journey through this digital world is unique to their generation, and they really need empathy, not dismissal. So, wrapping up, to all the young people listening right now, you are absolutely not alone in feeling this pressure. It is real, it is intense, but it does not have to control your life.
Please take your time. Be kind to yourself. Remember, trends fade, platforms change, but your self-worth, that's something you get to define, build, and protect, independent of what the internet says this week.
And as you think about everything we've discussed today, here's a final thought for you to consider. Given how incredibly fast trends and even ideas about success change online, what are the truly enduring values you want to build your life around? The things that matter to you, independent of any external validation? What's the you that remains when the Wi-Fi is off?